With the big 5-0 breathing down her neck within the next few weeks, ex-Detective Inspector Hillary Greene had finally admitted defeat. She was bored and restless, and badly needed to do something more meaningful to occupy her time than being a tourist in her own country. And tomorrow she would no doubt have to weather the "I told you so" blandishments of her old boss, Commander Marcus Donlevy. She sighed and washed away her plate before settling down in front of the small TV. She turned over from an old Morse rerun and found an adaptation of a Jane Austen novel on BBC. Settling down with another sigh, she sipped her glass of bog-standard supermarket white plonk and wondered, not for the first time, if she wasn't making a big mistake in coming back. Who was it who'd said that you could never go back? She poured herself a defiant second glass of wine and muttered that whoever it was deserved a good kick up the backside. Monday morning, bright and early, Hillary dressed in a dark blue skirt and jacket, feeling oddly uneasy in her old work clothes. Since retiring, jeans and t-shirt, baggy cardigans and comfortable jerseys had been her uniform. Life on the canal, especially in winter, with all the mud and damp that went with it, was hardly conducive to sartorial elegance. She then had to hunt around for a pair of proper shoes, since she'd worn nothing but trainers for what felt like forever. Her toes instantly objected to being confined in the black leather flatties, and she mumbled something dire into her morning cup of coffee. And that reminded her she was going to have to stop this retirement-acquired habit of muttering to herself. Anyone catching her at it could justifiably wonder if she was going doolally. She checked her appearance in the mirror, realised she'd forgotten her watch, and then had to have another hunt around for it. Timekeeping was another thing she was going to have to get used to again. On the boat, meandering from spot to spot, it hardly mattered what time you got up or ate or anything else. Now routine would once more become the norm. She scowled at her reflection in the tiny mirror. Just why the hell was she putting herself through this anyway? She had plenty of money to see her through to her cranky old age, and it wasn't as if she needed the hassle of going back to work. Still, 15 minutes later saw her heaving her bicycle from the roof rack of the Mollern and pushing it along the towpath towards the lane. She cast another quick glance at the pub and wondered if the landlord's son still had Puff. She'd sold him her car, an ancient Volkswagen Golf that she'd christened Puff the Tragic Wagon, because it was, when she'd left the police service. Now, depending on how things went, she might need to buy another second-hand car, and she felt a distinct pang of something that might have been nostalgia for her old rust bucket. She sighed, and with a glance at a cloudy but mercifully rain-free sky, put the toe of her newly polished black leather shoe to the pedal and set off. Luckily, she didn't have to go far. She was hardly a born cyclist or a die-hard Keep Fit fan, but Thrupp was barely a mile from the Thames Valley HQ, and as such was well within her limits. And she had to admit to feeling a certain amount of malevolent satisfaction as she was able to pedal righteously past all the stalled traffic at Kidlington's many traffic lights. She turned into the familiar car park of her old stomping ground barely 10 minutes later, and then had to stop and think where the bicycle racks would be. Before, she'd always parked Puff in the first empty car parking space she found. But she eventually found the right spot and padlocked her bike into place. She had no illusions about it being safe enough outside a police station. More than 25 years on the job had taught her a lot about criminal cheek. She ran a quick hand through her hair to check that it wasn't too windblown, then began to unbutton her long raincoat as she walked towards the doors. When she stepped into the lobby, it felt like coming home. Which was hardly an auspicious start, considering she was not sure whether or not she'd be staying or even what sort of reception she was going to get.